Can anyone on the panel share a story, and obviously leave out the names to protect the innocent, as they say, or an example where the video was the most critical piece of evidence in a prosecution or a trial? And I'll throw that out to all three of you. I mean, because you all three have very different perspectives from that standpoint.
I'll take that one first there, Mike. We actually had a federal civil case involving our agency, and we had a few key pieces of MVR footage of that particular incident. And I still remember I prepared all of the demonstratives for that particular trial as that unfolded. And right out of the gate, it was one of the angles of the video footage that we had that I was able to, have the original video playing with the portion of it kind of zoomed in next to it, which is a demonstrative I typically use quite often. And I still remember the jury looking at that on their monitors, because in the federal court they had a computer monitor right in front of them, and they're looking at each other and they're pointing at the actions of the suspect, and it was almost like, wow, yeah, that's right there, right out of the gate, just with that particular video and us using it in the way that we did. I think that really right out of the gate just kind of set the tone for the rest of the proceedings. So that one really sticks in my mind, just because I was looking over at the jurors when they were watching this video that we had, looked at and then, prepared for the trial, and it was pretty impactful.
Outstanding. Thank you for sharing. Michael, how about from your background? And
well, fortunately or unfortunately, I could probably spend 4 hours just on stories. Here in Chicago, we get a lot of practice. You can either say it's bad or good depending on your point of view. I mean, everybody knows the Jussie Smollett story. That was a story that really was broken by video, helped out by Input Ace about a certain cab proprietary player that the people at the scene didn't know which one, because there's 4 or 5 different ones, and that led it us down the correct path. From Commander Bauer's in the line duty death, I mean, I did a very detailed demonstrative for that trial, and my feather in my cap was the defense never asked me one question. So, when you do things properly, at least I try to do, everybody does, that's a sense of pride. But, and another one really, real quick recently, where a guy calls and says his girlfriend committed suicide. The police get there. She's got 10 stab wounds and 2 gunshot wounds. So everyone's like, what? So then he says, well, don't look at my phone. There may be some incriminating messages. I'll take a lie detector test. Even though we can't use it in court, it's just another tool. He fails that. He's got gunshot residue on his hands. But then there's this video camera that's in the residence. One of those cameras that you record inside of your residence to see if there's burglars. And they did it was the dead victims, and they did a legal service on that. And when they got the footage, the guy's sleeping on the couch. He awakens to the girl walking past, and he goes like, what happened to you? Oh, I cut myself. She's bleeding everywhere. He's there then in another frame cleaning the kitchen when you hear 2 gunshots. Without that video, that guy who wouldn't think he was the murderer? That's how important video evidence is in your investigation.
Wow, that's not where I thought that story was going. That's pretty dramatic. Thank you for that. That's an outstanding example of how video is just everywhere today and how it can be useful. Grant, how about yourself?
Well, no expert wants to hear that his or her evidence is the key piece of evidence in a criminal trial, because the focus is going to be on that evidence. But the reality is, in my experience, that video is the primary critical piece of evidence in most video-related cases once they realize, how important it is. And it gets that way in trial. Last week, I had a homicide trial that was scheduled, and we had a lot of video. Defense did everything that they could to try to make sure it wasn't going to be used in court. At the end of the day, It was going to be used, and we got a guilty plea, and that was agreed to 30 years in prison, which is a pretty significant plea deal. Saved a lot of money for the courts, and got justice, for the family. So, that is kind of a definition of how important video is and how it can play a critical role. But I got to tell you, the most valuable in my professional experiences, the most valuable cases are those cases where we're able to show a person is innocent, somebody who's perhaps been charged with a serious crime, and the video is able to exculpate that person. Like Mike said, his story. And I had a case last year of a police officer charged with murder. The video very clearly showed that he had nothing to do with the death of the individual. And there are a lot of cases out there like that. And those cases where you're able to show somebody is actually innocent, that's the real value of the video.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing.